Dominique et Nique s'en allaient tout simplement au Dieu, pauvre et chantant. En tout chemin, en tout lieu, ils ne parlent que du bon Dieu, ils ne parlent que du bon Dieu.
Let's start our cemetery tour at the Maison du Puy Hotel on the corner of Toulouse Street and Burgundy. Beautiful example of the Spanish architecture that came into vogue after the fires of 1788 and 1794. I'm going to do a couple of YouTube videos on those fires, but there's a reason why we're going to start right here in this Spanish style building, which is now the Maison du Puy Hotel. Maison du Puy is a beautiful old hotel here on Toulouse Street and Burgundy. The city ended about a half a block that way on Rampart Street. I'll show you more about this hotel. Beautiful old Spanish style building. The thing is, several years ago, the owners of the Maison du Puy decided to put a swimming pool into the courtyard here. They got the backhoes out and discovered they hit a cemetery. The remains of the old St. Peter's Cemetery were here, where coffins were buried 8 deep because they only had so much real estate. The city ended right there. It doesn't take but this long to get to the Catholic Church website and see that the city cemeteries were established after the Great Fires in 1788 and an epidemic of yellow fever. Yellow fever is a terrible death, and at the time they thought yellow fever was caused by bad air. And the cemeteries were already full, meaning that piece of real estate was worth way too much money after the fire to leave it as a cemetery. And so doctors agreed that maybe we should move the cemetery to outside of the city limits, and that's where St. Louis Cemetery number 1 comes from. And then it was put further away from the population, blah blah blah. It was consistent. It assumed that. And then in 1803, just a little bit later, because you don't want any of that in the groundwater, the city ordinance was that graves should be above ground. Not because there were fears of people floating away, but because you don't want that getting into the groundwater. When I talk about the fires later, I shall mention the wells that was available in everybody's backyard. And so we inherited this idea from France and Spain to build the above ground tombs. And that's where the above ground tombs come from, and that's why they exist, and this is on the Catholic Church website. My friend Miss Mary Lacoste is like the academic queen of the cemeteries in her book, Death Embraced. Mary Lacoste writes, "There is never a documented case of bodies floating up and down Royal Street. It didn't happen that way." There is an example in the Maison du Puy of the Spanish-style archways that came into vogue after the fires of 1788 and 1794.
Our lives are sweetest here below. Maria, our hope in sorrow and Maria, triumphantly cherub, cherub, sweet cherub, cherub, and free sound the hymn, salve, salve, salve.
go by the dozens through the cemetery. There will easily be several hundred a day going through the cemetery. This one with the statue of Jesus' mother on it is the Italian Society tomb. This one next to it with the pointed corners is the Portuguese Society tomb. So these are all above ground, you'll notice, and I've already explained the reason for that. The thing is, the tourists come by the dozens, which would be okay if we were teaching them something. Some of the tour guides, but this business of we have to put them in these rectangular boxes, because I had actually heard this from reputable tour guides. I was shocked. One of the persons I heard say this, that one of the reasons they put them in these rectangular boxes is because it is a natural crematory. And she actually said the inside of the boxes has been measured at 400 degrees Fahrenheit in the summertime, making it what she described as a natural crematory. Well, in the first place, if you could produce 400 degrees by putting cement boxes around, let's put a whole bunch of them around and make electricity out of them. Guys, here's the Protestant section of the cemetery. And what do you notice about the Protestant section of the cemetery? They're in the ground. I suppose you don't need to make Protestant electricity. In the second place, 400 degrees isn't nearly enough to be a natural crematory. I actually went and looked at my local deli to see what the temperature was on their oven for smoking meat. Surprise, it's 400 degrees. Anybody who has lived from Albuquerque to Nashville will tell you a 400 degree grill is enough to smoke brisket. That is not enough to cremate a piece of meat. Everybody will tell you that they have to crank the temperature up much higher than that. And in fact, a crematory temperature is between 1400 and 1000 degrees. It's a blast furnace. And I happen to know that's the temperature because I am prepaying for my own cremation. And I do not want to end up a brisket. Really? So A, we're going to make electricity out of them. B, we're going to cremate them. And C, we're going to keep them from floating around the city when it floods. Wrong, wrong, and wrong. I've already taken you walking past St. Louis Cemetery number 1 that was opened in 1789. The tourists come past this corner by the dozens. Sometimes, some days, it's by the hundreds. And they walk past this plaque, recognizing the site of the first Jewish synagogue in New Orleans. Believe the numbers of people who are reputable tour guides who talk about this. Really? You would walk past this plaque and explain to people that their loved ones have to be interred a certain way to make it efficient for them to be incinerated. By the way, not that this is relevant, but right behind me is the fallen down Hard Rock Hotel building on the end of Rampart Street, still fallen down. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
What a wonderful world.